favorite scary movie.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
Here's Johnny. I see dead people.
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
It's showtime.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Terror Talks. I'm your host, Jeremy, and today we have a fun episode all about Halloween Horror Nights here at Universal Studios Florida, and some information coming out of Universal Studios Hollywood. This episode is going to sort of cover some things that are actually quite past in terms of when the announcements came out, just because it took us a little while to get things sort of situated here. So we've got what some may consider old announcements, and we'll be giving our thoughts on some of those old announcements. But we're also going to give some opinions on the new announcements that we've recently gotten, as well as some things that have been confirmed but not yet announced by Universal themselves. So we got a lot of fun stuff to cover. So we're not going to waste any time. We're just going to jump right in. So several weeks ago, we received our third house announcement for Universal Studios Florida and Universal Studios Hollywood 2022 Halloween Horror Nights event. The house that will be featured on both coasts is called The Horrors of Blumhouse, Freaky, and The Black Phone. Step inside a new double feature of Blumhouse horror. Your Scream Squad will find yourselves trapped between a frantic teen and the ruthless serial killer she swapped bodies with in Freaky. Then you'll try to make a desperate escape from the dark basement of the Grabber before you become his latest victim in the terrifying The Black Phone.
Oh. What's up?
Hey, Chelsea, it's Brock.
It's Brock.
Brock!
Would you come get me?
Yeah, we can come get you. Hello? Brock? Brock, are you there?
Let's go.
The Horrors of Blumhouse, featuring Freaky and the Black Phone. Only at Universal's Halloween Horror Nights.
So this is a third iteration of the Horrors of Blumhouse house series that we've seen twice again in the Halloween Horror Nights catalog, shall we say. I can't exactly remember the years that we have had the two Horrors of Blumhouse houses, but I know from what I understand from listening to several different people talk about the two iterations that we have, there seems to be a general consensus that the first one was much better than the second iteration. So I have to wonder what sort of experience we are going to get with this iteration being the third time. Has Universal learned from past mistakes? Have they found a way to sort of up the ante, if you will, find new ways to scare us rather than, fall into the same pitfalls that they have fallen into before with houses? I know the two film choices are two very interesting film choices to go with from the Blumhouse catalog, because there are just so many that could be used. And so to pick one is actually a very difficult task, I'm sure. But it just makes me wonder what they're going to pull from each film. And I'm just going to warn you now that I'm probably going to mention some spoiler type stuff. So if you haven't seen Freaky or The Black Phone, go see them now. Turn this episode off and then go see them. Or if you want to hear it first and have some stuff spoiled and then go watch the two movies, go for it. But we are going to get into a couple of specifics. So first off, like with the... we'll talk about the elephant in the room, which is The Black Phone, because The Black Phone basically takes place in one location for the entirety of the film. The whole film is centered around this young boy who has been kidnapped by the infamous grabber, played by the amazing Ethan Hawke. Fabulous job in that film. But he's literally trapped in a basement. Now, there are some very horror-esque imageries used in this film. For starters, the iconic mask that the grabber wears, I think I heard that Tom Savini actually helped design, or actually did design, the mask for the grabber. So that piece of imagery alone is actually very, very creepy, and one that I'm actually like would love to see, the grabber sort of coming at you from different angles in this house. That's one thing that I feel they can play with to their advantage, because one of the iconic things about that mask is it actually changes expressions. There's like different, I guess, combinations. Like one iteration, the mask is frowning. One iteration, the mask is sort of smiling. One iteration, the mask only has the mouthpiece rather than the eyepiece. So there's several different iterations of this mask that are truly haunting, because that mask is just so creepy. So that's one thing that I feel scare-wise and scare actor-wise will be sort of a joy to see, is because we know that that is a very creepy sort of mask. But then the question is, what locations are we going to visit in this house? Because like I said, the entire film takes place in a basement with this young boy and the grabber. And the young boy encounters these different, shall we say, visions of the past, or ghosts of the past, which are the previous victims that the grabber has taken, killed, buried. So my question, I guess, is, are we going to see what where are we gonna go? Because in terms of location, there's not a whole lot of places you can go. You have a little 10 by 10 basement, essentially. And so for that reason, it's going to be very difficult scene-wise, I feel, to keep the entire pace of the house moving without feeling like you're just walking in sort of a circle. But there are some very, like, sort of gruesome, ghostly images that we could see of these previous victims. They've all been hurt in some way, and they actually, in the movie, they looked really, really creepy at times, and, they had little jump scare moments. So if they can incorporate that in some way that would certainly help. But I do worry about this sort of almost being a reiteration of the failure of what was the Happy Death Day situation, which I believe was the second iteration of the Horrors of Blumhouse series, if you will. And they did Happy Death Day as one of the films, and that's a film that just basically, it's like Groundhog Day. It repeats the same thing over and over again. So it's like, if that failed, how do you do that with this? Because while you may not be repeating the same scenario over and over again, you are in the same location over and over again, and that does not change. So I am very curious as to what we're going to see for the freaky portions of, or not freaky, the black foam portions of the house, which brings me into Freaky, which I feel is slightly more hopeful in terms of what we're going to see. Freaky had a lot of iconic kills in it. So for one thing, the kills, I imagine, will be heavily featured in this house. One of them being, this girl gets put, like, cryogenically frozen in a cryogenic freezer. And so that's a kill I would love to see come to life in the house. There's a guy who gets cut in half on a table saw, and that's another kill I would really like to see come to life in some form or fashion. There's some chainsaw kills. I'm trying to remember all the kills. It's been a hot minute since I've watched that movie. I did watch it twice, though. Just as soon as we got the announcement, I went ahead and watched it a second time, because I was kind of curious, what the hype was about, because it almost seems like very campy. It's a very campy type movie. It's got Vince Vaughn in it. I mean, you don't get much more campy than Vince Vaughn, but it really is like a campy horror film, but like some really gruesome horror moments in it too. So it's not like entirely like too campy. Like, it can lend itself very well to a haunted house, honestly. But yeah, I'm trying to think of all the kills that are in that one. I mean, there's a lot of locations in that storyline. You know, there's the school, there's a store. Oh, there's this one scene where it's like a mini golf course, and it's all UV blue light, not blue light, but UV light, black light, and everything's neon colored and stuff. And when I first saw it in the film, I immediately said, "This is a Horror Nights house right here." And lo and behold, I was right. Who would have thought? I'm very happy that I was actually right, and I'm hoping that is a moment that we see come to life, because I could see, you know, somebody sort of jumping out at you in the neon room, and that would be like just absolutely creepy. Like, I love that. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff that they can play with. The grabber Vince Vaughn, when he wears his mask, when you're not seeing Vince Vaughn's face, that mask is actually kind of creepy. And so to have him sort of lurking around, jumping out from corners, would actually make for a really good, you know, scare tactic as well. So I could see a lot of different ways they could do this. I would be curious if they're gonna like incorporate like a lot of the story-esque element, like the whole idea of them switching places. I'd be curious to see how they do that, if they're gonna do that, or if they're just going to focus more just like you're sort of just in the middle of it. We're not going to give you every little detail of the story, but here's like you're just sort of caught up in the middle of the action. So I'm very curious as to what this house will be. I'm curious as to what both aspects of it will be, but I am hopeful. These are two very good films, in my opinion, very good horror films. I feel like Blumhouse did a remarkable job with each, and I really think some like great stuff can come from both of them. And I'm very excited to see what Universal sort of comes up with in regards to this house. And I'm hoping it's going to be great. This is the house that is located back in the Fast and the Furious queue. So that's where that one is going to be located. It's going to be a tent house. So I'm curious with the space they're using. I know that there's a rumor going around, I believe it's pretty true actually, that they're using part of the queue itself for the house. So I'm very curious how that will play into the design of things. I'm excited for this one. I really am. This is one I am certainly very excited to see at Universal Studios Florida. And in Universal Studios Hollywood, it's going to be in the Waterworld Stunt Show queue. So it's going to be the Waterworld house. And from what we saw, you know, John Murdy out there in Hollywood tends to open up for questions and whatnot regarding the houses. And the only question, I didn't write these questions down because I don't want to give too much away, but one of the big questions that I do remember is the facade. And he said the facade is like something he's wanted to do before. It's a good facade. It's going to be different, I believe, is what I remember hearing. So I'm very, very excited about this house. The Horrors of Blumhouse, Freaky and the Black Phone. I think that's going to be a fun house to experience. Up next, we have our next big announcement for Universal Studios Florida and for Universal Studios Hollywood as well. The Weeknd is coming to Halloween Horror Nights. This was probably, the joke has now been made everywhere that this was the worst kept secret of Halloween Horror Nights history, because the Weeknd himself kept posting things on his social media and then had to like take them down. And so this was a very complicated sort of secret. Like, it's like, don't release anything, but like he was sort of releasing things. But yeah, we all knew, I think we all knew from the beginning that the Weeknd would be coming to Halloween Horror Nights. And so we do now officially have it. It's the Weeknd After Hours Nightmare. Prepare to enter the macabre mind of the Weeknd in this haunted house as he stalks your squad through the surreal nightmare of his after hours music. A slasher carving a smile at an otherworldly rave. Bandaged maniacs perform extreme plastic surgery. A grotesque mannequin masquerade. His nightmare is now yours. So this is one that I wasn't overly excited about, to be quite honest. And I think that I sort of shared that sentiment with a lot of people. I think a lot of people share that feeling with me. This was one, you know, there's this big argument that, oh, the Weeknd's not horror, the Weeknd's not horror. But the truth be told, he uses a lot of horror imagery in his videos and whatnot, and we've actually seen it. And I remember when I started seeing some of this imagery, I was like, okay, I'm a little more excited now. I'm a little bit more like, this could be a really good house. So I'm very curious as to what we're going to experience. I, for one, I take no shame in saying this, I don't listen to The Weeknd. He is not like someone I have to listen to. He's not one that I have all his albums downloaded, anything like that. So I don't listen to him, to be quite honest. And so I don't know much about his music. The only thing I do know is the Super Bowl halftime performance from 2 years ago, I think it was, where he basically had a bunch of bandaged people. Maybe it was last year, I don't remember exactly. But he had these bandaged people, and it had to do with like his plastic surgery, I believe it was. If I recall correctly, there was a deeper meaning behind it. But like, they sort of reminded me of the characters from Us, and I thought, okay, they're really creepy. And so when this house was first speculated, I thought that would actually make sense if we like saw them throughout. You know, it's sort of an easy costume to do. They've already got it technically somewhere in storage. So it would be really kind of interesting to see if they somehow reuse that to achieve that sort of effect of the Us characters, but it's really the plastic surgery people from his music video. So I'm very curious to see if that makes its way in. After watching the announcement video, I'm like really pumped about it, just because it really looks really cool and really creepy. Like I said, I'm not a fan of The Weeknd's music per se, but it's a haunted house for me. I'm going to go in with an open mind. I'm going to be curious to see what they do with it. I mean, that's what you do, is it's a creative concept. It's something different. We do have some information from John Murdy, but before we do that, I want to show the announcement video. And let's talk about that really briefly. So here is the announcement video for The Weeknd.
Perfect.
Universal's Halloween Horror Nights.
So yeah, that announcement video is really creepy. I love the flashing reds in the video, the creepy characters that are sort of towards the back. Honestly, it's kind of funny. I've heard a lot of people sort of saying like what sort of vibes the announcement video gave, and one person I think said it gave them like thriller vibes. Me, I could be alone in this, but to me, it gave me very much Stranger Things vibes with the way that they sort of did it. Like the way the Weeknd After Hours Nightmare sort of panned in, it was very Stranger Things-esque. The song that they chose, I don't know what the name of the song is in the announcement video, so if you know it, please let me know. But that song almost has an 80s sort of sound to it. So to me, I'm kind of like, this really is giving me some Stranger Things vibes. I'm hoping like maybe this is kind of like in a way our Stranger Things house that we didn't get, just because it really has that sort of throwback to the 80s horror Stranger Things-esque kind of feel, and I'm hoping that with that sort of gets incorporated into the park music park-wide. I'm hoping like if we get the Marathon of Mayhem, that's something in a sort of aesthetic that we could get incorporated into that show, and same with the Nightmare Fuel. Or there was a rumor rolling around somewhere, somebody made a joke tweet saying they were making a video for Bill and Ted. I would not be opposed to Bill and Ted returning this year. I feel like that would be amazing. I'm not banking on it, but I, for one, would really be excited if they came back. I know a lot of people have been saying bring back Bill and Ted, so I'm hoping that joke was true, but we'll see. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. I would like to see that sort of aesthetic brought into the event park-wide, which I'm very interested to see what the general aesthetic of the entire event will be this year as it is right now, because this year it seems like they're going very much Halloween themed for the entire event. So like, lots of scarecrows and Halloween themes and candy and witches and goblins. Like, it's like old school Halloween, which I'm really like pumped for. I feel like that's really cool. I love that idea in honor of it being HHN 31. Of course, it'll be a little different over in Hollywood, but still, nonetheless, I'm very excited to see. But yeah, the Weeknd. There was a couple questions that John Murdy answered. Again, I didn't write them all down because, if you want to hear about them, you can go to his Twitter and read about them. Just look up John Murdy on Twitter, you'll find him. There was a couple things, specific things that he could only speak of on behalf of Hollywood out of respect for his counterparts over here in Orlando. So because of that, his questions should only be based upon the Hollywood house. And to quote a couple of them, he said the facade is something he's always wanted to do with the music house. So I don't know what that means. I guess take a look at past music houses like Alice Cooper's house, and I believe there's a Black Sabbath house or Ozzy Osbourne, one of the two. And for those of you who say those are the same thing, no, they're not. Ozzy Osbourne is his own person, and Black Sabbath is the band. So yeah, I know they've done different facades for those. So he said this facade is different and it's something that he wanted to always do before. So I'm very curious as to what that means and what that could be. One of the other questions was about how the lighting design for this is very complex. He said this is one of the most complex lighting designs they've ever done, one of the most complicated sound designs, or at least he said it's a very complicated sound design this year for the house. This house over there in Hollywood is going to be on Soundstage 29, so I imagine if it's on Soundstage 29 there, it looks like where it's rumored to be for us is in one of the parade buildings. I believe it is the Beetlejuice parade building where Beetlejuice was last year. It's not the Beetlejuice one, then it's the one where Haunting of Hill House was, but I believe Hill House is where Universal Monsters Legends Collide is going to be. If anybody knows for certain on that, or if I've got that flip-flop, let me know in the comments, or just send us a message, and we will happily address that on the show and give you credit for saying, hey man, you were wrong. But knowing that this house is going to be one that is in a building, I feel like that is going to be very helpful in the production of it, and it's going to allow them to do some really neat stuff, because any house that is done in a building is always fantastic. And if you have the ability to do special things inside as opposed to being in a tent or outside, like, take advantage of that. Those houses are always really, really neat. So I feel like this is going to be a really interesting one. I feel like after watching that video, there is some really creepy imagery, and I'm excited to see like what sort of character is going to be coming at you. One of the things for Hollywood is they said that in terms of music, some people are like, are we going to hear the Weeknd's music in this house? And what it said for Hollywood anyways, is they've taken 6 of the Weeknd's After Hours songs and almost made them into a horror soundtrack. So I'm real curious to see how that plays out and how that works. So I don't think this is going to be the sort of thing where you're going through and you're just like jamming out to the Weeknd the whole way through. I don't think it's going to be that at all. I think it's going to be like much different, much more intense. I actually have a really good feeling about this house, much more than I did before, and wouldn't be surprised if this came out as one of the top houses of the year. I'm hoping it is. I'm hoping that this is like just everything that we've dreamed of, and that it's going to be absolutely amazing. That would really just be the icing on the cake if it was. So yeah, The Weeknd, After Hours Nightmare, coming to both Universal Studios Florida and Universal Studios Hollywood for their Halloween Horror Nights events. And then finally, we have tickets that have been released for the entirety of the HHN event, both over in Hollywood and over here at Universal Studios Orlando. So let's start off with Orlando, Florida. So we have the single night tickets, which you can get for $73.99 as the starting price. Reminder, these prices do vary by date, and this ticket just gets you in the event. It gets you in, have at it. This is the ticket you need to just get the bare bones minimum to get into the event. Then we have the express passes that start at $109.99. This price varies by date as well. This ticket will basically do you absolutely no good if you do not have a ticket to get in the event. So you will need a single night ticket to even get anything out of your express pass. Then we finally have the Rush of Fear Pass. Experience the first 17 event nights of terror and save when you buy online. Upgrade with express access to skip the regular lines one time each night at all haunted houses, plus at participating rides and attractions. So this ticket is $129.99 and that gets you 17 nights. So the Rush of Fear Pass is only in September. So once you get past September, you don't you're not going to get anything further than that. So if you're only going to go in September, this is probably the one for you. If you're trying to go more, like you're trying to go in October as well, you're going to want to hear some of these other options that we have for you. So next we have the Frequent Fear Pass. Come 27 nights for every Sunday through Thursday event night, plus the first weekend, and save when you buy online. That is $179.99. This is a pretty decent ticket to have. I believe I either had this, I think my brother had this one because he wasn't going to be going to HHN on certain nights, so we went ahead and got him the Frequent Fear Pass. And it's very good. It's a good value because, you're getting every Sunday through Thursday during the entire Halloween Horror Nights season, and that totals out to 27 nights. If you do the math, if you're going to go at least 3 times, this is actually worth the price. So I highly recommend this one. But if you're like me and you want to get a little bit more scares, you can get the Frequent Fear Plus Pass, which I believe is the one we're going to go for this year. And what this offers you is you're able to come 36 nights for every Sunday through Friday event, plus the first and last Saturday event nights, and save when you buy online. All of these say save when you buy online, so make sure you buy online if you can. This is probably the one we're going to do because we're not going to be able to go every single night of the event, but to be able to go Sunday through Friday is that's a big one for me because I usually go on Sundays, and if I can swing it, I'll do Wednesday, Thursdays, Fridays once Wednesdays become a thing. That's a little closer to Halloween, I believe, more in October than September. I don't typically go on Saturdays, but this year I have already made arrangements to be there on opening weekend and closing weekend. So to have the Frequent Fear Plus, to be able to go on the first and last Saturday, that will actually be very beneficial. So Frequent Fear Plus, that's $219.99. Obviously, all of these are without tax. With tax, you're probably looking at an additional, I think maybe $30 roughly, if I'm not mistaken. So not too bad. Like I said, you're getting a very decent valuation for what you're paying. Then finally, we have the Ultimate Frequent Fear Pass. Experience every night of the event and save when you buy online. Plus, get free regular parking after 5 p.m. on all event nights. That is going to run you $324.99. So again, Ultimate Frequent Fear, this is probably more for somebody who lives in Florida, who is hardcore Halloween Horror Nights fan, can go every single night. This is the one I would suggest to you to get. If you're an out of towner like me, I would look at the regular Frequent Fear or Frequent Fear Plus. Or if you're one of those people who, you want to go, you're only going to go maybe once or twice, and you want to go when it's not crazy busy, I would maybe say get the Rush of Fear Pass, because you'll get to go in September, and it probably won't be nearly as crowded during that time. Mind you, I've only been to Horror Nights for 1 year, and it was the year that everything started back up, and so we didn't have all the overseas visitors back over here yet either. So sort of take that with a grain of salt. Just because I'm saying that it might not be busy doesn't mean it really won't be busy. So then reminder that all of these tickets you can upgrade with express access, and that usually is basically take the price and add 100 or so to it, depending on the night. Go online for that information. That is not, we don't want to give you a definite number just because things vary by date and whatnot. Then we have the RIP tour, which join other fans for a guided VIP walking tour with priority VIP entry to houses and participating park attractions once per house based on itinerary while on tour with the RIP guide. This is going to cost you $279.99. That's the starting point. And again, this is another one of those things that varies by date. I believe the earlier in the year you do it, it's not nearly as bad as once you get towards the end of the haunt season. So getting into October, you're going to be looking at more over $300 probably, I think. This was something we didn't get to do last year. We're going to try and do it this year. I really want to do it this year. But people say this is amazing. It's an amazing opportunity. It really is a good valuation no matter what you pay, because you're not only, getting all this inside information on the houses, you're getting escorted around by a guide. You're getting first priority access when you arrive at that house that the guide takes you to. They're taking you, boom, right to the front of the line, taking you in the house. You're getting in there, you're going. There's no time wasted there. So for me, it's a fantastic valuation for your buck. Only downfall is you're joining with other fans. So where it says once per house based on itinerary, once your itinerary is up, and if there's extra time, your guide might be like, hey, what do you guys want to do? Is there something you want to do again? And you sort of all have to collectively make a decision. For me, that's, I don't care about something like that. I'm cool, I'm just happy to be there. Honestly, I'm at the point where I feel like every house is going to be good either way. So it's it's not going to be a big deal for me to have to agree or disagree. I'm used to sort of making that compromise with a group. But if you are the type of person who, you want it to be, I guess, I don't want to say about you, but about you, and you want it to be your unique experience, then I recommend you do the private RIP tour. So you still get a guided VIP walking tour with priority unlimited VIP entry to haunted house and participating attractions. So what this means is it's just you and your group, however much you want to pay. These ones tend to run a little bit more money because, you're basically taking the price of a standard RIP tour for 15 people, and you're condensing it down to just you. And so it's going to be quite pricey. But if you divide it up, if you have a group that's a small group, but it's just your group, it's not a bunch of strangers, you can divide that up amongst your friends for maybe $300 a person or something like that, and it evens out. But the only way to book your RIP tour, you must call the number to book. That number is 866-346-9350. Then we have the Behind the Screams Unmasking the Horror Tour. There are two options of this. So first, you have this daytime lights on VIP tour of 3 or 6 haunted houses. So there are two options here. You have a 3-house tour and a 6-house tour. Mind you, you do not get the same houses on each one. And I would love to tell you right now what houses you're going to get on each one, but we don't know because they haven't all been announced yet. So there's no telling what you're going to get. But the 3-house tour starts at $79.99 and the 6-house starts at $129.99. The price, again, varies by date. You don't need theme park admission for this tour, though, so that's a big plus. But because of this, that means that during your tour, you and your group have to stick together and stay together and all that good stuff, because you're basically going to be inside the park walls for free. So, yeah. That's the Behind the Screams Unmasking the Horror Tour. That's when we're thinking about doing this. We wanted to do it last year, and I still regret that I didn't do it last year, because there are some houses that I would have really liked to have gotten a behind-the-scenes look at. But this year I'm going to try and do it again and try to time it out. I'm going a little bit more, I think, than I did last year, so that's going to be really fun. So I'm looking forward to it. So that's one we're going to try and do as well. Definitely recommend checking that out. And then finally, we have early park entry for $35, I believe. What that means is you're going to get in the park early, basically. If you don't want to buy a ticket to Universal itself, you don't want to spend your whole day at Universal, you're just there for Halloween Horror Nights, they offer an early scares entry ticket, which you basically pay $35. It gets you inside the gate so you can go to a Stay and Scream area. Stay and Scream, if you are been going to Halloween Horror Nights, you know what I'm talking about when I say that. Stay and Scream. Basically, you're sort of like in this holding area where you and everybody else who's wanting to get to a specific house, it gets you a little closer to that house. So with the early Scream, you pay $35 to get you in, but you still do have to have the ticket for Halloween Horror Nights, but it keeps you from having to pay like, $200 for a daytime ticket to Universal. It still gets you in and you're able to take advantage of early Scream. So I do encourage you to look at that if you can. That's a sort of a very good money saver. So if like you're like the type of person who maybe you're just going to go one time, you don't really care about going to Universal during the day, you're just going to go to Halloween Horror Nights one night and you just go on, let's just say you go on the cheapest night possible, you're only paying $74.99 for your single night ticket. You pay an extra $35, you're looking at maybe $100 total, give or take, and you just got in the Horror Nights for $100, and you actually got a little bit extra time in the theme park too for next to nothing. So that's like a really good price and really good on Universal for doing that. I really admire that they have done something like that to make things just a little more cost friendly to their guests. Then we have the Scare Actor Dining Experience for $54.99. This is returning this year. Last year during COVID, it was not a thing. They did not do the Scare Actor Dining Experience. And I was really bummed because I had heard about it, but I never got to do it. So I'm really excited to try it this year. Enhance your night of horror with an exclusive dining experience and special character photo opportunities at Louis' Italian Restaurant. The Scare Actor Dining used to be at the Universal Monsters Cafe, but unfortunately the Universal Monsters Cafe has been demolished to make way for something new. So because of that, they are going to be doing it at Louis this year. And hopefully maybe one day they will find a new location, or maybe Louis will be the new permanent location. It doesn't really matter to us. We're just happy that Scare Actor Dining has returned, that we get this awesome opportunity to take some like really great photos with scare actors. So this is a big fan favorite. I know my friends over at the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast, they really, really like this opportunity. I know they did it a couple years back, and it was such great fun for them. And I want to say my friends at the Theme Park Duo podcast might have done it as well. I'm not 100% positive, but I do know for a fact over at UUOP, they definitely did it. And they like really just enjoyed it. They loved it. So very excited that Scare Actor Dining is returning. All right, we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to dive into Universal Studios Hollywood and what's going on out there. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for more content to listen to? Check out our friends at the New Age Philosophers podcast, featuring our very own co-host, Brooke. Join them as they discuss topics ranging from philosophy, cryptids, conspiracies, and so much more. No topic is off the table. Just remember to keep an open mind, keep discussing, and don't stop thinking. If you're looking for other interesting content, be sure to give our friends at Gather by the Ghostlight a visit. A theatrical experience podcast. Join them as they gather and read stories from a variety of genres around the Ghostlight, your personal campfire. No matter what you are looking for, both are sure to provide you a fun, informative, and entertaining experience. Check them out today and let them know the Terror Talks sent you.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Before the break, we were talking all about Universal Studios Florida and their Halloween Horror Nights announcements, tickets, all that fun stuff. Now we're going to talk about Universal Studios Hollywood and all of their stuff happening at their Halloween Horror Nights event. As we said, the Horrors of Blumhouse and the Weeknd After Hours Nightmare are two houses that have been officially announced, and they are going to be at both Universal Studios Florida and Universal Studios Hollywood. So we're getting that on both coasts. But what we also found out was we received special confirmation from Mr. John Murdy himself at the Midsummer Scream event that a new original house will be coming to Universal Studios Hollywood for their HHN 22 event. And when I say new, I mean new to them. It is not new to us over here at Universal Studios Florida. So the house that they are getting is Scarecrow the Reaping. This was featured at HHN 27. It was located in the Sprung Tent. The history of the house: on August 31st, 2017, Universal announced that an original haunted house based on an abandoned farm infested with living scarecrows would be coming to their Halloween Horror Nights event that year. The code name for this house was Brains, as the Scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz wanted a brain. Very clever. In 2006, Universal built 2 hurricane-proof tents behind the World Expo area of the park specifically for holding Horror Nights houses, and so this house would be located in the southernmost one called Sprung Tent 1, and would prove to be very popular for how scary it was, and would even go on to win House of the Year in 2017. At a long-abandoned Depression-era farm, vengeance takes root, and the only harvest that will be reaped is you. So that was the official description. The media description says, Scarecrow the Reaping. No character in the maze is under 6'2" in height. They are crazy scarecrows that take over a Depression-era farm, and this gross Mike group of people or creatures want to take you and remove you from the earth. The backstory: the house takes place in an abandoned Depression-era farm. The land, once known for its vast bison-traveled grasslands, had been laid waste because it was overplowed and the soil depleted by generations of careless farmers. But now the land and wind want revenge, and so a giant dust storm descends and Scarecrow guardians rise from the earth to chase away visitors who dare enter their land. I have seen videos of this house, and it looked amazing at 27. I regret that I never got to experience it, because unfortunately for me, I did not start going to HHN until HHN 30. So I was very devastated that I did not get to experience this. It was a very interesting facade. You walked through a bunch of corn stalks and whatnot. There was this big like windmill looking type thing, I believe. Very, very cool. Watching the house online was just absolutely incredible. So this is a house that like Hollywood is very lucky to be getting right now. Like, honestly, count your blessings that you're getting this house, because we were supposed to, on one of the original spec maps, we thought that there was going to be sort of a trade-off with Hollywood and Florida, because we thought we were going to be getting one of their originals and they were going to be getting one of our originals. And unfortunately, at this point, it doesn't look like that's happening, which really upsets me, because I was really looking forward to the Curse of Pandora's Box coming here to Florida. But it's fine. There's always next year in the future. Maybe one day. Maybe they just need some more time to make it happen. Maybe there were just some better ideas that they wanted to do now. So I'm okay. I'm not bitter about it. I'm hoping we will get it. And I'll get to one day experience Pandora's Box like you guys over in Hollywood. Get to experience Scarecrow the Reaping. The facade for this house over in Hollywood looks absolutely stunning. It's like this dilapidated farmhouse. There's a scarecrow out front. It literally looks like someone's home. Like, they have put so much time and detail into this facade that it is just baffling to me. It is mind-boggling. And furthermore, John Murdy showed some pictures of the characters that you will encounter in this house as well. So they didn't just get an official confirmation on this house, they got a first look, so to speak, as well. And that's not all they got. They also got some first looks at Universal Monsters Legends Collide and the characters that you're going to see in there, as well as some of the props and different things like that, different locations and whatnot. You know, he showed them so much different things in regards to both of these houses. And then a third thing that he announced was sort of a story, which I haven't read too much into it, but it was the backstory of like an old Hollywood sort of theater sort of deal, or not theater, but an old like Hollywood hotel sort of backstory. I don't know where I got theater from. But it's very interesting. It definitely seems to be setting up an original for this year, possibly. So we're very curious to see what that story is and how it will sort of play into the event. But they're definitely very, very lucky to be getting the houses that they are getting so far. So far, a great lineup on both coasts. This does unfortunately look like, by looking at the HHN speculation map released by Horror Night Nightmares for Hollywood, It does look like that means you're not going to be getting Candyman, but I think you should just consider yourself lucky with what you do have because you've got some good houses. In addition, we've got some ticket prices and announcements over there for Universal Studios Hollywood and their Horror Nights event. First up, for general admission, tickets will range anywhere from $72 to $102, again, depending on the night that you go. And you can save up to $40 on select nights when you buy online. Then they have the Universal Express, which ranges anywhere from $179 to $289, again, depending on night. This will get you one admission to Halloween Horror, enjoy one admission to Halloween Horror Nights and one-time express. So this is sort of bundles the two together. Then Halloween Horror Nights Universal Express Unlimited, $219 to $329, again, depending on the day. And you get to enjoy one admission to Halloween Horror Nights and unlimited express access per day to each house, ride, and attraction. So that's a really kind of neat thing that they do there. Then you have Halloween Horror Nights after 2 p.m. day or night. So this is sort of like our early admission ticket that we've got here in Florida. But this is for Hollywood, and it ranges from $112 to $154. Enjoy after 2 p.m. daytime general admission to the park and same day evening admission to Halloween Horror Nights. So again, sort of the same situation. You pay a price to get into Universal Studios after 2 o'clock instead of having to buy a whole day ticket, and you get the Halloween Horror Nights admission too. And then they have an option of that, which is Halloween Horror Nights after 2 p.m. day night Universal Express, ranging from $219 to $349. Same thing, enjoy after 2 p.m. general admission, and then same day evening admission to Halloween Horror Nights. And then this ticket also includes a one-time express access to each ride and seated show during the day, plus one-time express access to each house, ride, attraction during Halloween Horror Nights. So this express pass actually gets you some stuff during the day too. And then we have the Halloween Horror Nights RIP tour out there. Theirs starts at $319 and ranges anywhere between $319 to $449. And we've already explained what an RIP tour is: exclusive guided VIP tour, plus Universal Express Unlimited. Then we have some frequent fear passes for you. We have the Halloween Horror Nights Frequent Fear Pass, which is $199. Experience the scares over and over with a Frequent Fear Pass and get general admission to this year's Halloween Horror Nights for up to 27 nights. So this is only 27 nights. I'm sure if we clicked on it, it would tell you like what nights you're going to get with that. Actually, it just says, so it says for this pass, no blackout dates on first visit. Select any available event night for your first visit starting Thursday, September 8th, 2022. Return visits valid on the following nights only: September 8th through 11th, 15th through the 18th, 22 through the 25th, 29th through the 30th. And October is the 1st through the 2nd, 6th through the 7th, 9th, 13th through the 14th, 16th, 20th, 23rd, 27th, then the 30th through the 31st. And then return visit blackout dates are October 8th, 15th, 21st through the 22nd, and the 28th through the 29th. Then we have the Ultimate Fear Pass, which is what we have over at, we have one very much like it, and it's basically the same thing. You get it for $329, and this just gets you access to every single night of the event. So those are the items you can get from Universal Studios Hollywood and their tickets. Lots of great offers in terms of tickets, lots of great offerings there. You definitely get a lot of bang for your buck, so to speak. So yeah, lots of fun stuff. We're really looking forward to HHN 31 over here in Orlando, and we're looking forward to HHN over in Hollywood. Not that we're going to get to go to it, but we're still looking forward to it. And speaking of looking forward to things, we have a lot of stuff going on right now. As of the day we're recording this episode, lots of really cool Scare Zone construction already happening at Universal Studios Florida. We have seen some cemetery sets go up in the Hollywood area of the park of Universal Studios. And then in the Central Park area of the park, we have seen some stands of sorts go up, some lighting trusses, nothing like official set yet, but the bones of the set have begun to go up. And then moving around the park over to San Francisco, we have seen some lighting trusses and speakers go up there. And then hitting the New York area of the park, we have seen some what appears to be almost like a county fair, like a Halloween fall festival county fair sort of set. Like there's corn stalks, there's a tractor, there's a judge's booth. We've seen that go up as of the day we're recording this. We'll probably see more throughout the week as the week rolls on, but lots of really cool stuff scare zone wise all over the park. We've seen lighting trusses and lighting up on top of buildings and whatnot, so we know that there are little subtle getting ready behind the scenes hints happening, and then very in your face sort of things. And so finally, that brings us to our last little bit of news. So, in regards to all this awesome speculation, we have the fourth and final speculation map from Horror Night Nightmares for HHN 31. And a lot of the houses appear to be the same, but some of the names have changed to reflect what we believe to be a shirt for the event that was leaked online about a week or two ago. Many people saw the shirt, and we believe that this might be an official shirt. And actually looking at some of the merch that was released this week for Halloween Horror Nights, we believe that it's very, very, very possible now that these houses are more than appropriate and correct. So these are the houses for HHN 31. This is speculation map 4. This will be the final one before we get the official one. So we had what was originally called the Witch House is now called Spirits of the Coven. Then we have what was supposed to be Evil Dead is now just called Prison, and this is an original. And so is Spirits of the Coven, also an original. Then we have Halloween, which has been announced. Then we have Fiesta de Chupacabras, which is an original house. Then we have Dead Man's Wharf, another original. Then The Horrors of Blumhouse, which has been announced. Then we have Bugs Eaten Alive, another original. Then we have Descendants of Destruction, another original, which we believe has a correlation to Seeds of Extinction. Then we have The Weeknd After Hours Nightmare, which has been now announced. And then we have Universal Monsters Legends Collide, which has been announced. And you can argue that's IP or original. I guess it depends on how you look at it. I see it as original because the storyline's original. Some people see it as IP because the characters are IPs. Take it where you will. For scare zones, we have in the first scare zone as you enter the park, Production Central, traditional Halloween. We haven't seen anything yet to point in any directions for that one yet. Then we have L, which is the New York area of the park, Candy Mutants, which this is where we have seen what appears to almost be a county fair of sorts going up. Then M, which is San Francisco, is Coven Witches, which we've only got lighting trusses there. Then N, which is Central Park, we have Scarecrow, which we have only seen lighting trusses here as well. Some people have speculated maybe we're getting a barn facade in there, which would be kind of cool. And then finally we have O, which is Deadly Unrest, which sort of fits in with that theme of the cemetery, which we have seen now. Then we've got our two shows, Marathon of Mayhem and Nightmare Fuel. Neither one have been confirmed yet. We're really sort of hoping that maybe that Nightmare Fuel might be Bill and Ted, but I think that's just us getting, a little too hopeful. But it is what it is. We can hope, we can dream. We're allowed to. And so that's the speculation map. Very promising. Like I said, it's connected to a piece of leaked merch. And speaking of merch, we did have some official merchandise that got released from Universal on the day of recording this, and it looks absolutely amazing. It features everyone's favorite little person from last year's Halloween Horror Nights event, Little Boo, a little pumpkin who is featured at the entrance of Wicked Growth Realm of the Pumpkin, because everything had pumpkins, and Lil Boo, like, everyone fell in love with him. And so we think maybe Lil Boo could be the mascot for this year's event, the icon, if you will. We're not 100% sure, but he is featured on a lot of the merch. So that would be kind of neat. It seems like Universal definitely listened to their fans in terms of at least bringing him to life on the merch. The shirts look amazing. All the merch that's come out looks amazing. I'm having to send some people down to the park to pick me up some for me because I want to make sure I get it before it's gone. I believe I saw online that all the merch got like wiped out really fast because everybody went in and bought the shirts with Lil Boo on them. So make sure you get them quickly. Or if you're in the area and you want to get it for me, I'd really appreciate that too. Thanks. But that is going to do it for us today on this episode of the Terror Talks. We had so much stuff going on down there at Universal Studios Florida and at Universal Studios Hollywood in regards to Halloween Horror Nights. Lots of fun stuff, lots of great houses. We've got the Horrors of Blumhouse, Freaky and the Black Phone. We've got the Weeknd After Hours Nightmare. We've got Scarecrow, The Reaping. We've got tickets for both events over in Hollywood and here in Orlando. We've got all this conceptual drawing and artwork for different houses out there in Hollywood. We've got a new speculation map, the final speculation map. We still don't have the final one for Hollywood yet, but I imagine we'll be getting that in the coming days. We've got new merch drops. We've got everything. We've got scare zones being built. This event is in full swing, and we're very close. We are now officially less than a month away from the event, from opening night. We're going to be there opening weekend. We're going to be there closing weekend, and we're going to be there some days in between too, because we just can't get enough of Halloween Horror Nights. But that is going to do it for this episode of the Terror Talks. I'm your host, Jeremy. And if you liked today's episode, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you didn't like. You can reach out to us directly at theterrortalks@gmail.com. Be sure to go like us on all of our social medias. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, you name it, we are there. Be sure to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Libsyn, and several other different places where podcasts can be found. Be sure to go check out our friends over at the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast, the Rush of Fear podcast, and the Theme Park Duo podcast to get all of your theme park information. They cover Halloween Horror Nights information. They cover some Halloween information, different things all over. Go give them a listen. They're fantastic. Absolutely love getting to work with them, collaborate with them. So be sure to go give them some love, follow them, and go check out all their social medias and whatnot. Finally, we want to thank you for being such loyal listeners and viewers and joining us every week on the show. We couldn't do the show without you. And if you want to support the show just a little bit more, we've got a link in the description where you can click and you will donate $3. It's a one-time donation of $3 to just sort of officially subscribe to us and just help us out. Say that you support the channel. It helps keep our light bills on, helps us pay for the show, and keeps it running for another month. And, you know, we could use every little bit. We're not asking you to. You're not obligated to. But if you can donate that $3 or even donate a little bit more, should you feel so obligated, we would really, really appreciate it. But that is going to do it for us today on this episode of the Terror Talks. We hope that you enjoy this. We hope that you will tune in with us next time because we've got so much stuff to cover, so much exciting things coming up. And spooky season is literally less than a month away. We're almost here. It's time to gear up, get your Scream Squad ready, get your team ready, get your Terror Talks team ready on your own. Take pictures, tag us, send to us. We want to hear from you. We want to hear if you've been to the houses we've been to. Get ready because Halloween season is right around the corner and it ain't slowing down neither. It's almost time. It's almost here. So until next time, be safe out there. Don't text and drive, and be excellent to each other. We'll see you in the fog.